Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on Cluiche with me, Seamus Brady, your host. For this one, I am joined by Matthew Hurley, the Gaelic Statsman, once again to have a look back at the weekend's action in depth. Of course, it was only one code this weekend, Matthew, only Gaelic football, no LGFA, no hurling, no camogie. It was only the men's Gaelic football. We had two All-Ireland football semi-finals and the Táilteann Cup final, which have resulted in a novel All-Ireland final pairing for Armagh and Galway, which will be box office, by the way, and then Down also claiming the Táilteann Cup in the third ever edition. Even though there wasn't that many games, big consequences, and what a weekend for Gaelic football.
Exactly so, and yeah, thanks for having me on again, Seamus. I know what I noticed during the week as well, like the club season starting, like even the Kerry hurling championships in the quarterfinal. There was the Cork division league finals during the weekend as well. I was at one of them. Be at one of them, Parky Ring, during the weekend. So actually there was two. There was a Junior B final there as well. So the club season's starting to ramp up again. But of course there are the important games. There's Donegal Galway game. I sat down and watched that. And I could not sit down and watch Armagh and Kerry, even though I was at the league final on Saturday. I went home, watched it at about 11 o'clock that night, rinse and repeat again an RT player. It was just nice to see. Nice to see Kerry get beat from a car fan. But look, that's all the jokes I make from a Cork and Kerry point of view. But look, from a Gaelic games point of view, it's brilliant that we have Armagh and Galway in the final. And to be honest, when you see Galway and Donegal on Sunday, I honestly went into it thinking, I don't care who wins here. I don't have any favourites whatsoever. Whoever wins. It's great that these three sides are the three sides left standing in the All-Ireland series. And when you look at the landscape out of the four codes in senior level, the LGFA will have a new enough winner. Like Kerry haven't won us since the 90s. You look at Cork, they are the most recent winners, but Cork were relegated earlier on in the year, and it'll be a brilliant story if they do it. Whoever wins in the hurling, Cork or Clare, it'll be a humongous scenes. And then the football, Armagh, Galway, it's an over 20-year gap, whatever happens. And it's brilliant to see. He's absolutely brilliant in his own right. And yeah, bring on the final, Armagh and Galway. I'm actually looking forward to this now. It should be two evenly matched sides. A new champion as well, which we'd all love to see. I know Dublin, Kerry, Limerick, Kilkenny fans might think differently, but like I'm loving it. I'm loving that the new winners are coming to the fore now, and it's going to be a brilliant next 2 weeks of All-Ireland finals. I think the hype will go up now because I think Gaelic games have needed this. They need new teams to come on the block, and they have done so in hurling and football, which is absolutely brilliant to see. And looking forward to chatting about the semi-finals in this one.
Yeah, no, certainly well said. I think that one of the things that I love about it is now you know that for Galway and Armagh, whoever wins this game, all of them will get their first ever All-Ireland medal. There's nobody playing in these All-Ireland finals. So nobody playing in this All-Ireland final that has an All-Ireland medal. For the hurling, the entire Cork team would get their first All-Ireland medal. Obviously, Clare have a couple like John Collins, Shane O'Donnell, Tony Kelly, who have an All-Ireland medal, but there's a lot of players that don't. And yeah, it just feels really, really significant. Couple of comments in here. Love to see it. Don't forget, guys, get involved in the discussion during our reviews and breakdowns of the games. Love to see them coming in. Killian McMullen here, a man from Capture Athletics. He says, a happy Armagh man here was at the match. Was electric. It certainly was absolutely fantastic atmosphere in the stadium. Armagh travels so well. Like, I mean, for the journey that they had to make, the roads are absolutely packed. Like, I'm like, when I was going down around Whitehall, Drumcondra, like the whole road was backed up with Armagh flags out the windows. Like, they really traveled well. Denise says, hello to you both. I did not see the Armagh victory over Kerry as a so-called upset. I did think they would have enough to defeat Kerry due to lack of competitive matches all year. That's true. Like, a lot of people are calling Armagh shock Kerry or upset. Like, a lot of people actually backed Armagh to give Kerry a right good go. Sean O'Malley as well says, I remember going to the doubleheader in 2017, Tyrone Armagh and Dublin Monaghan. Both games were blowouts. Since Dublin's dominance ended the championships since Dublin's dominance ended the championship has so much more depth at the top. That's absolutely true. Like, the reality is like, yeah, I'm from Dublin, but I'm not a biased Dublin fan. I would like to think anyway. Maybe some people would think differently, but I would look at it this way and say, you're an idiot if you think that it's good for the game to just have one team winning over and over and over and over and over again. Like, it's not good for the sport. Dublin winning was amazing in terms of that dynasty, but it is good for the sport in general, for the entertainment value that Dublin lost at some point, and that Dublin, it's, you know, the Leinster Championship needs Dublin to lose. Like, if we're being honest, the Leinster Championship needs Dublin to lose. It needs a rival. for Dublin that are worthy of standing toe-to-toe with them. And that's why so many people are so invested in Meath and Kildare getting better, and why so many people are invested in Louth actually upping their levels. And then final one before we jump in, Aaron Graham says Armagh's bench allowed them to bring on fresh legs without compromising on quality. That allowed them to get on top for the last 25 minutes of normal time and extra time. Very good point, Aaron. Like, I mean, you look at players like Jaleo Burns, you look at players like Stephen Campbell who came in, like they all made impacts when they came in off the bench. And that's the game that we're going to start with, Matthew. First All-Ireland semi-final of the weekend was this one. Armagh 118, Kerry 116 after extra time. Armagh through to the first All-Ireland final since 2003 after beating Kerry after extra time. What did you make of this one?
Yeah, at half-time, this looked very, very unlikely for an Armagh victory, and I suppose even going into the end of full-time, Rian O'Neill scores that monster score. Dylan Gainey gets the point back for Kerry, and you're thinking, is this deja vu for Armagh? Are they going to go back to a penalty shootout? Are they going to go and draw this game when they had the game grasped? They were going to win this game towards the end of it. But Armagh showed a lot of heart, to be fair to them. Like the 2 points at the start of extra time, the 2 points at the end of extra time, actually, the second period, the Ross McQuillan point was crucial because they put Kerry's at arm's length. Obviously, the 3 points that were needed for Kerry to get back into the game. You see Killian Burke get that point for Kerry, Paulie Clifford get the point for Kerry, and you think Armagh going to get pulled back in. And I suppose the last play epitomised what Armagh were like throughout the whole day when you think about it. Like the ball goes dropping in. I don't know off the top of my head who dropped the ball in for Kerry, but I think it was Rian O'Neill that caught the ball, or was Blaine Hughes. And then Armagh go on the quick counter-attack. Conor takes the best option. I know Barry McCambridge would have wanted his second goal of the day, but he took the best option, faced it over the bar, cheered to the hill. Armagh are the order of the final. It's brilliant to see, really, that these Armagh players stood up to the challenge, and they're in a final now. And Ciarán McGeeney, he was very, very vocal in his interview on RT. He actually swore to Damien Lord. Damien Lord was actually fine with it, you know, with the ecstasy and all that comes with winning the All-Ireland semi-final. But to be fair, like even from the end, or the start of the second half of normal time to the end of extra time, the end of the whole game, the shooting accuracies for the two sides, Armagh was 62%, Kerry's was 30%. Like Kerry really, really struggles in the last few minutes. Like you see some.
I mean, it's mental when you put it like that.
It was uncharacteristic errors, and I suppose Tomas O'Shea, he might have been called sour grapes and things like that on Sunday when he was arguing with Sean Kavanagh and Lee Keegan before the Donegal Galway game. But look at those stats; he's absolutely right. Kerry probably had the game grasping their fingers come the end of it. And when you look at the error from Shane Ryan, it was uncharacteristic, kind of an error from one of the best keepers in the country. Flapped at it. Barry McCambridge gets the ball into the back of the net, and to be honest, from then on, Armagh just delved into the chaos. They enjoyed the chaos more than anything and getting back into the game. So I just feel like Armagh deserved it. Kerry did leave it behind them, but maybe the not so great test that they had in the championship. Like before this game, the nearest test that they did get in the championship was against Cork, and the only team that ran at them for the full 70 minutes before Armagh was Clare. So once a team did run at them, that's what happens. That is what happens to this Kerry team. And I would worry about Kerry. Look at the team that they did have. The midfield massively struggled. You look at that spine of the team. Tyke Morley and Jason Foley really, really struggled as well. The forward line didn't perform to their utmost ability either. So it was a bad day out for Kerry, a good day out for Armagh. But before I cross over to you, Seamus, the stuff that went on in social media, aiming tweets and comments and stuff like that to David Clifford was an absolute disgrace over the weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
And I just feel like the amount of hate this guy gets for basically playing the game he loves. He's an absolutely brilliant footballer. This is from a Cartman now again. And I said the same thing after the All-Ireland final against Dublin last year. To those people that comments crap about David Clifford is an absolute disgrace to the game. He lost his mother last year in May. He's been through a torrid time for over a year now. And he's still playing for Kerry. He's still achieving high levels for Kerry. Let's not forget this. He got a brilliant score at the start of the first half. I think that reverberated around social media. The one from the sideline, Seamus, you remember that? That was just an outstanding score. That's what David Clifford is capable of. He didn't have his best day, but Armagh definitely shackled him really well with Aaron McKay and Barry McCambridge doing very well on him. And I'll just take the comments about David Clifford and about his family and things like that were an absolute disgrace over the weekend.
Couldn't agree more. Like my take on that is, if I've no respect for you if you're a fan of the game and you go at a player personally for their performance on the pitch, because the reality is I just like, you just don't have a breeze what you're talking about. These lads are putting so much blood, sweat, and tears into playing a game where, yeah, okay, maybe their lives are a bit more cushier because they play Gaelic games, but they're not getting paid. Like, they're not getting paid as much as the Premier League footballers and everything like that. And I don't know, especially when it's the same people. Like, it'll probably be the same people that will be trying to get a selfie with them if they ever run into them and shit like that. It does annoy me when you see that. And I even seen like a Dublin, like, this made me actually embarrassed. I have to be honest. There was a Dublin fan account. I think John McMahon retweeted it or something, or he quote tweeted it, and he was like, "Here we go," like he's just echoing what me and you both said. And it was a Dublin fan account being like, "David Clifford's missing" or something. And genuinely, I had this like, "Shut up!" Like, Dublin are out of the championship. What are we talking about? Like, we're not winning it either. You want to talk about Kerry? Kerry got further in the championship than Dublin did. It's pathetic to be like, "Ha, like, you're out as well." Like, Dublin went way off this year. Did David Clifford have his best game in this game? Probably not by his standards, but he's still so dangerous. And I think that's more up to Armagh marshalling them pretty well throughout the game. And David Clifford, like, people have such short memories now. Anybody saying that, oh, he's a bottler, he doesn't show up in the big games. When Kerry won the All-Ireland in 2022, David Clifford was the best player on the pitch for Kerry that day. No question about it. It was Clifford at one end, Shane Walsh at the other end for Galway, and they both put on an exhibition. And if Kerry didn't have David Clifford that day, they wouldn't have won that All-Ireland. So people are very quick to forget what he has done. And yeah, I'm the same as you, man. I have no respect when people go at players personally just because of a bad performance. I think Clifford, unfortunately, is one of the players who is in the firing line because people big him up so much when he does something incredible that people are quite happy to see someone like that be taken down a peg or two in their minds. I don't know. Yeah, I completely agree, man. Anyway, we've got the comments coming in. Love to see it, guys. Sean O'Malley again says, do you not think the old knockout football format would work better with the teams as they are right now? Matthew, what do you think about that?
I'd still go with the group format. I kind of like that format in the All-Ireland series. I think they're bringing in a format now next year. I don't know. I'll be corrected on this, but there is rumours going around that they are trialing a thing next year where you have a first round, you have the amount of games. I think it's 8 games. The winners of those games, it's like the Statsman Cup. If you're familiar with that, Seamus, like the next round, the winners get another chance. The next round for the losers, that's their second chance. That's gone then. So they might be trying that next year. Cards report somewhere I see on social media, so maybe that could work next season. The old knockout format, look, the qualifiers didn't work over the last few seasons. You looked at the hammerings the teams got in the qualifiers, and then once they got to the quarterfinals, they got tired then. So I don't think that kind of works when it gets to that stage. So I think the format this season is probably better than it was in previous seasons. But maybe the Statsman Cup and the Fitzgibbon Cup format could be better for the game if they are to bring that in. I suppose there is a lot of people saying on social media over the weekend as well with the attendance and stuff like that. They were relatively high this weekend. Maybe you move the quarterfinals to neutral grounds. For me, though, like at the same time, there is the caveat to it. The likes of Laois, the likes of I'm thinking now, the likes of Cork over the last 2 seasons, the likes of Roscommon wouldn't get the chance to play in Croke Park then, and that's unfair in my opinion, because these sorts of players, the Craig Lynn's, the Samuel Roy's, the Dara Craigs, deserve to play in Croke Park. They deserve their day out. So I probably personally wouldn't be in favour of that. I know Peter Canavan was massively in favour of last night, the Sunday game, but that's another discussion for another day. But yeah, maybe the GA could try the Statsman Cup format next season for the All-Ireland series.
Yeah, it definitely would be interesting. I think that one of the things that you look at this way is Dublin got caught in the quarterfinals. No doubt about it by Galway. Galway had the momentum and took Dublin out. But if Dublin had lost like a group stage game there, say it was the Super 8s, and Galway had beaten Dublin, well, Dublin probably would have just won the next 2 games in the group. And they'd probably be right back alongside Galway, and it would be very hard to take them out again. We've commented here, Kieran McBreen says, Kerry didn't win a minor final for 20 years, from 94 to 2014, and yet won 5 All-Irelands After that, this current crop have won 6 in a row minors and yet aren't maximising on the talent. Makes one wonder why. Overrated. Then Rufus says Kerry were playing well and everything going their way. Then the dogfight started and Armagh were battle hardened. They grew in confidence and Kerry got rattled. Armagh were better conditioned. I do think actually that when the game got into the melting pot, Armagh live in the melting pot. Like there's no doubt about it. Like Armagh were like, this is our house now. Like they knew about it. Rufus also says this Armagh team will get so much confidence from this win and will be hard beaten in the final. There's no doubt about that. There's absolutely no doubt. Like Armagh will be right there. Like they're going to take some stopping in that final. Kieran also says about Clifford. He says Clifford has some miles on the clock and he's only 25. A year out might do him the world of good and come back rejuvenated. Can't see it happening though. I could see Clifford taking a year out, being honest. Like you look at it's like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows for people who are pushed up to the heights that David Clifford is. And like you look at someone like a Dame Connolly, for example, like talent wise is probably similar to Clifford in that look, Connolly came and went from the Dublin team over the decade, like because you know it's the type of player that all eyes are on him. And yeah, unfortunately for Clifford, like a lot is put on his shoulders. And the other thing as well is like this isn't like just gonna be about this, but he seems like a really nice fella. Like genuinely, any interview I see with him or any like the way he always stays to sign autographs for the kids and all, he seems like a really nice fella. And yeah, I just again like go back, I have no respect for stuff like this. Denise saying here was reading during the week that Aidan O'Shea has previously received hate mail to his house. There is no place for this in our game. Unfortunately, many players receive hate. That's absolutely true. And we need to actually discuss it in the GAA now because like there needs to be some way of consequences for what you're saying to players. Like genuinely, like, because I don't know, the way that so many people are so comfortable like saying the most outrageous stuff to players, and usually they're hiding behind a fake account or like a profile picture of like Fernando Torres from like 2008 in Liverpool, like, and they're saying outrageous stuff. It is like annoying that, you know, there's not something that can be done about it. Gavin said here, we probably need 3 tiers with 12 teams. I would agree with that. I think senior, intermediate, junior. Gavin, you're speaking my language there. Rene YouTube says €55 for a semi-final ticket in 2017. I remember the tickets being €35. Yeah, it definitely has jumped up, no question. Denise says, will the proposed third tier competition be introduced next season? I certainly hope so. Jared said there would be some changes to next year's structure. Don't know precise details yet. And then Sean O'Malley, last one before we move on. The teams might get tired, but it can work both ways. I remember Mayo Tyrone used to thrive playing knockout football week in, week out and going deep, and Tyrone going on to win as well. No doubt about it. Mayo, more or less every year in the 2000s, took someone out in the championship. They took out Dublin in 06. They took out Tyrone in 04. And Tyrone as well definitely thrived in the knockout football in 2021, winning the All-Ireland, no question about it. So it would benefit certain teams and it would not benefit other teams. I think it wouldn't benefit a Kerry because it wouldn't benefit a Kerry if you made it straight knockout, because Kerry, if they were to be caught like Armagh caught them in this one, they'd have another crack at it. And that kind of would suit the bigger teams, because with the bigger teams, you can beat them once, but you very rarely beat them twice, and you very rarely beat them 3 times. But yeah, so if we go back into the game, I would say in this moment, he highlighted like down the home stretch, Kerry definitely their shooting accuracy was all over the place. Like there's no doubt about it. And a lot of people have started now to look at Jack O'Connor, which is something that I didn't anticipate at the start of the year, that there'd be a conversation about Jack O'Connor. But like they're out at the semi-final and Armagh were the better team. Like Armagh deserved to win that game. Do you think Jack O'Connor will stick on as Kerry boss next year?
I honestly think it's going to be very hard for him to keep his job, because like when you think about it, he was brought in to win All-Irelands, Jack O'Connor, and especially when Dublin were gone by the wayside last year, you could have cut him some slack, losing the final to Dublin. That can happen. But losing to the semi-final when the opportunity was there and when they haven't been seriously tested, what I question from a Kerry point of view, looking this game back as well, and somebody mentioned in the comments there, the conditioning of Armagh was much better. And when you look at the runs of the both sides, like Armagh had to play Galway, they had to play Roscommon, they had to play some tough games against Derry, obviously, the Ulster final against Donegal, where they went extra time as well. they've played some tough games and it's been a tough road for them. Kerry did not play sides up to the standard when you think about it. Like Cork are Division 2, Clare Division 3, Monaghan are relegated to Division 2, Meath Division 2 as well. Laois Division 2. Derry did not put a test up to Kerry at all. Like as I said, the GAR, if you took away the scoreboard, you wouldn't have realised Derry were 3-4 points down. So Kerry didn't get the test. So what shocked me was the conditioning of the Kerry players. They just looked crampy. I don't know what it was with the Kerry players. They just looked out on their feet. They looked tired. They looked disjointed. They didn't look like they were. And it wasn't as if they weren't trying. It was just they were unfit. I don't know what it was around the middle of the third from a Kerry point of view. Their shooting, as you said, it was so erratic all over the place from a Kerry point of view as well. And yeah, I think Jack O'Connor has a lot of questions to answer when you think about like the league. When you look back at the league as well, I know most people will want to look back at the league, but against Dublin and Croke Park, they got schooled. Absolutely schooled. Conor O'Callaghan scored a hat-trick that night. Dublin were absolutely all over them. They were running rings around them that night. They didn't have a good league campaign. And then the championship, once they got their first serious test, they're out of the championship. And I think there is a lot of questions to be asked about Jack O'Connor. And as well as that, like even looking back at other competitions in the season as well, like Kerry won only one trophy this season out of a possible 4. I know the McGrath Cup, most people would say that doesn't mean anything, but for Kerry standards to win only a Munster championship, they weren't entirely convincing in that Munster championship, may I add as well. Like Kerry have had a very poor year, and there's no sugarcoating that whatsoever. And even the McGrath Cup, they played, like I was chatting to someone earlier about this, Kerry played 10 out of the 15 players that started or played a part against Armagh against Cork at that McGrath Cup final. So they went strong in that McGrath Cup. They still lost to Cork at a penalty shootout. I know the Cliffords weren't there, but there were still some the likes of Dermot O'Connor, Joe O'Connor were there. They were supposed to be the midfield pairing. And for a while there, we thought they'd be the midfield pairing. But compared to Armagh's midfield, they just looked outmatched. And I think there is a lot of questions to be asked about Kerry as well. The spine of the team hasn't really improved. The forwards, other than David Clifford and Sean O'Shea, haven't really clicked. There were some periods in the season where Tony Brosnan was kicking them over the bar, but not enough Kerry players stepped up. And that was the key issue from a Kerry point of view. Yes, Killian Burke looks like a very good young player. He came onto the pitch, looked very, very good when he came on. But yeah, it was just a disappointing year for Kerry. And I would be shocked if Jack O'Connor does stay on next season. In terms of who is there to replace him, like Eamon Fitzmaurice wouldn't be a bad shout. I think he did very well.
I don't think Fitzmaurice takes it.
Yeah, I think he's doing a lot of good work at RTE, but like, who else is there out there?
No, I just genuinely think Fitzmaurice wouldn't take it. I think he's done. I don't think he's going to manage Kerry again.
I think honestly,
he just seems quite content to leave it. It's the same with it's the same with Anthony Daly, like in terms of the hurling. Like Dale was getting shouts to come back to Dublin, like more or less every year. Every time that Dublin have needed a new manager since, and just that's it. Like race is done.
Yeah. I suppose another good candidate, he's the under-20 manager at the moment, Tomás O'Shea might take it.
Tomás O'Shea, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I would say if O'Connor goes, I could see Tomás O'Shea coming in.
Yeah, again, it's after Tomás O'Shea, there's not much. Wayne Quinlan, the minor manager, would he jump up a lot? I don't think so. I'm trying to think it's O'Shea. Yeah, I think Tomás O'Shea would probably take it as well. He's probably the guy that Kerry need in terms of winning All-Irelands. He knows what it takes to do that, but there'll be a lot of pressure on Tomás O'Shea. He has the managerial experience. He's been around the block for a long while now. He's been in charge, obviously, of the Kerry under-20s. He worked under John Maughan in the Offaly backroom team as well. He's been down in the club in Cork as well. He was down in Glanmire and trained into an under-20 success in county level. So he did do well in Cork. He's done well in Offaly. He's done well so far in Kerry. Got them to the under-20 All-Ireland final as well. So maybe it wouldn't be a bad show, Tomás O'Shea, but there will be a lot of pressure on your shoulders. And Paul O'Shea, the late Paul O'Shea, may I add as well, said this a few seasons ago. The Kerry fans, when they get on your back, they get on your back as well. So, and it's almost like a situation.
He said it in a lot less of a polite way than you did.
Exactly. Yeah, you look, it's a family-friendly podcast. We want to tone it down a small bit, but yeah, it's but that's what the Kerry fans are like. If you don't get an All-Ireland title as manager, like you see what happened with Peter Keane. As soon as they lost to Cork in the All-Ireland semi-final, Munster semi-final, not All-Ireland, the Munster semi-final with the Mark Keane goal, the amount of backlash that Peter Keane got from Kerry fans after that game, that was just, it was
That was
momentous.
hilarious, man. I remember that. I was watching, I was cackling, laughing because I couldn't believe it. I was like, it was clear in that game, man. Call a spade a spade. Kerry were getting ready for Dublin in that game. They were learning how to play a sweeper with Ronan Buckley and a wing forward and Brino Buglick on the other side. They were like, okay, we're going to learn how to play defensive for when we inevitably play against Dublin. And then it just absolutely fell apart against a Cork team who, no offense, Matthew, weren't as good as the Cork team is now. Nowhere near as good as the Cork team is now. Like, Ronan McCarthy's Cork, they were very capable of putting it up to Kerry, but then the way that they lost the tip, I was like, that just sums up McCarthy's year as Cork boss. Like, we've a couple of comments in here. Rufus was talking about our debate earlier where we were talking about Clifford. So he said as well, it's disgraceful for people to disrespect a player with David Clifford's ability. He has had a hard year off the field. No man is an island. The people commenting on his form have no place in the GA. I absolutely 100% agree, Rufus. Then Denise says, Jalito burns what an impact he made off the bench. Just referencing Aaron's point earlier as well, like the Aaron who commented in, like Armagh had such a big impact off the bench. We saw it with Burns, we saw it with Stephen Campbell. Like we saw it with Jason Duffy, players like this that came in that made an impact. Gavin Riley says, for me, in 2022, Kerry were sensational. They did the treble comfortably. Compare that to now where they barely won Munster, just flat for the last 1 to 2 years. Again, agree. Like in 2022, Kerry were the best team in Ireland. No question about it. They beat Mayo in the quarterfinal quite comfortably. They beat Dublin in the All-Ireland semi-final and they beat Galway in the final. There was no doubt about it. They were the best team in Ireland that year. And it is questionable what has gone wrong since. Denise has a good shout as well. She says Donny Buckley would be a good shout as manager, has great experience. Of course, he was involved in Peter Keane's. He actually had the defensive system nailed down. Then he left in 2020 just before, obviously, the Mark Keane goal took place. Rufus again here says, I think Kerry didn't like the prospect of extra time. Armagh, however, just got on with it as this has been a large part of their game this last few seasons. Completely agree. Armagh looked fitter. They looked like they were ready to go for longer. And yeah, 100%. Then Gavin O'Reilly says, yes, see Eamon as a Kerry manager a bit online, but think he's too busy with RT and the committee. 100%. Yeah, no, like Fitzmaurice is extremely busy, and it just seems like he is, happy with his piece and what he's done. Kieran McBreen says Kieran Donaghy, if he goes after this year, would be a good show for Kerry manager. Yeah, no doubt about it. Patrick Cahill, then a couple of comments in here. He says, completely agree with Rufus. Clifford is a class act and a gentleman. Leave him alone. No question about it there. Fully behind Clifford and fully against anybody who thinks that having a go personally at someone is somewhat okay. Then Patrick also says, I'm 64 now and been following Armagh for several decades. I was very critical of McGeeney, but fair play to him for the endurance and tactical nous and a great team around him. Humble pie eaten. Fair play to you, Patrick. It's not easy. I've been very, very wrong this season. I said Mayo would beat Derry, and I didn't even let Matthew try and argue to me that Mayo wouldn't beat Derry. And then obviously we all saw what happened. So it's fair play admitting if you got something wrong. And that is the other thing as well. Armagh and the connection they had with their fans, as Aaron says here, Armagh had the 16th man in the stands, dwarfing the Kerry support, which had a big impact. And there's no doubt Jack O'Connor referenced that as well. For Armagh, like the connection with the fans was sensational. We're going to wrap up this game just talking about them. The connection they had with the fans was sensational. The way that the fans traveled to support the team, the noise that they were making in the stadium was unreal. And then the way that the roof blew off when the goal went in from McCambridge, it really felt like Armagh were going to kick on at that point. And even in extra time, no panic, even though Armagh probably could have finished the job in normal time. No panic. We've been here before. Extra time, Armagh just looked better. And then even, like I was thinking, because Armagh, I'm sure that anybody who's watching who's an Armagh fan can attest to this. Armagh never do things straightforward. And I was watching the game thinking, Jesus, it wouldn't be good for your heart being an Armagh fan. Because when Turbot fisted over the point, I thought, of course they're 2 points up. Of course this has to be a winner now. And Kerry have to go for goal. That launched ball in right at the end. This is what I'm saying about Rian O'Neill, man. That's what heroes are made out of. Like Rian O'Neill to spot, they're going to have to kick this in. I'm going to position myself on the goal line, and then to go up and to go fetch that ball with Clifford around them, with Shawnee O'Shea around them, with other big Kerry lads in there around them. And then for him and Blaine Hughes to get it out, like that was just body on the line, heroic stuff. And that's what got them into the final. That never say die attitude. And for Armagh and for Kieran McGeeney as well, what a result. And it's well deserved. When you look at how unlucky they have been, it's comical how unlucky they've been, yet they've kept coming. They fully deserve their day in the sun.
They have, the Armagh fans we had as well were absolutely brilliant. They were brilliant a few years ago. I was in the hill with them in the Armagh Galway game, if you remember that. That was,
you could forget.
It was an experience. I'll have to put it that way. But Armagh fans were brilliant then. They were brilliant on Saturday as well. Like, you can't question the commitment from the Armagh fans, and they outnumbered Kerry by a lot at Croke Park on Saturday. And there's no doubting they are one of the best fans in the country. And I think you yourself, myself, and Dan talked about this at the GAR last week as well. Once Armagh fans get behind the team, once they are the 16th man, they're very, very hard to stop. And they're almost like the Cork hurlers when you look at it, the sideways kind of things and stuff like that as well. Like, Armagh are brilliant supporters, and just the players live off the fans as well. Like, Rian O'Neill kicked 2 brilliant scores out top by Brain. Like, the curled effort for the wing was an outstanding score near the end of the game. And then the last bit of score that almost won it for them in normal time until Dillinghany got that point. That was just a monster score. And that's Rian O'Neill in a nutshell. He's just that kind of a player that lives off the atmosphere. He lives it off for Armagh. The interview he gave to RT afterwards, if we're talking about quote of the year at the end of it, like, Rian O'Neill probably wins it. Like, that's just amazing. And you could just see the expression in Rian O'Neill's face after the win over Kerry. It's absolutely brilliant. Like, Aaron McCabe was brilliant as well. Blaine Hughes was brilliant in goal. Obviously, Barry McCambridge, Aidan Farker, Ben Creeley in midfield. Niall Grimley at the start when Armagh were kind of struggling in the first half. He was the guy that was driving them on as well. He deserves a lot of credit. Stephen Campbell did well in the second half. And even Conor Turbitt, I'll question this on my own page. Out of his last 4 games, he'd had 24 shots, 2 goals, 15 points, 2-8 from play, 71% shot accuracy. He's now only 2 points off Conor O'Callaghan from play in the championship. So he could be the top scorer from playing the championship come the end of the All-Ireland final. Are we talking about a Player of the Year nominee here in Conor Turbitt? I think he's an absolutely brilliant player. When you think, well, I know Dylan McHugh's been talked about from a Galway point of view, and Aaron McKay himself from an Armagh point of view as well. But Conor Turbitt's been absolutely superb. And not just this season, last season as well. He's been the guy that's stood up for Armagh in the last few years, and he definitely deserves all the plaudits that he is getting in an Armagh shirt. And Armagh, every time they attack that Kerry back line, they look very, very dangerous. And if they apply the same tactics as they did against Kerry, against Galway, they could get a lot of joy. I know Galway are better defence than Kerry and have proved it over the last month or so. But like, if Armagh keep running at them and apply the same tactics, they can go a long way in this championship. And Kieran McGeeney, he's got a lot of hate over the last few seasons. So I've had Armagh fans contact me and say that Kieran McGeeney's not good enough for the job. What's he done in the last 10 years compared to Dessie Farrell and Jack O'Connor? And I've been trying to, like I did with the Mayo Derry game with you, Seamus, I've been trying to reason.
They didn't start in Division 3.
Exactly. That's what I've been saying to Armagh fans. You start at Division 3, you start at the bottom. You're small enough county in terms of population as well compared to the Kerrys, the Mayos, the Galways, the Dublins, the Corks. You're a small populated county. For Kieran McGeeney to get you up to this level deserves a lot of credit. And when you look at it, actually, if you take out the minor team this season that got to the All-Ireland final against Derry, their underage teams have not performed over the last few seasons. They won the All-Ireland minor in 2009, but that was their really last success in All-Ireland terms in underage. So for Kieran McGeeney to grind these guys together and combine a very, very good team mentality deserves a lot of credit and fairness to Kieran McGeeney. And Kieran Donaghy, to be fair to him as well, and Kieran McKeever in the backroom team. So Armagh deserve a lot of credit. They're in the All-Ireland final now. And it'll be just exciting to see what they can do against Galway in 2 weeks' time.
Certainly, and that's the thing, is that they've kept going, because like, they lost on penalties to Galway in 2022. And I remember thinking the way that Galway blew Derry away in the semi-final, like, I know it's hindsight, but it probably would have made Armagh favourites going into that game. So maybe they would have made an All-Ireland final 2 years ago. Like, to have the misfortune that Armagh have had, because penalties, yeah, while it is a skill, you do need a lot of luck. And there's a lot of penalties that go in just about off the post, everything like that. And Armagh just were unlucky, no question about it. And now, they were not going to let luck be a factor in this game, and they were brilliant and fully deserving of the win. Sean O'Malley, a couple of comments in here. He said, I remember Fitzmaurice also got hate mail. I mean, just sad to see. Then he says, Rian O'Neill is GAA's clutch player. Absolutely. I mean, Rian O'Neill, time and time again, always comes up with big moments. Remember his free against Galway 2 years ago to send it to extra time? Remember the shot that we thought was going to be the winner against Monaghan last year in the quarterfinal? He's always a good man to give the ball to right at the end. And then, of course, not only did he put Armagh in front in normal time, but then he also got back to make that catch right at the end. He's just a sensational footballer. And to talk about Conor Turbot as well, Conor Turbot's form has been sensational. And it's allowed Armagh to move Rian O'Neill back to centre forward or midfield and let him influence the game on all areas. Turbot's form has been vital. Gavin O'Reilly says, I think around 2021, 2022, Armagh overtook Mayo as the best fan base. These Armagh fans, in a good way, remind me of Mayo a few years ago. The passion they have, despite all the heartbreak. Fair play. No, certainly Armagh, I think Armagh have to be pound for pound probably the best. I think Mayo, I think it's between the two of them for me. But Cork and hurling as well, man. I remember the noise in the stadium for the Limerick game was sensational, and the noise in Páirc Uí Chaoimh as well. There's a lot of teams. I remember Wexford got to the hurling semi-final in 2019, and the amount of Wexford people that were around Drumcondra, because I don't live too far away from Drumcondra, the amount of purple jerseys that were around Drumcondra before that semi-final was sensational. Now, we've talked about the Armagh game. Massive congratulations to all involved in Armagh. Wish you the best of luck in the All-Ireland final. You will be playing against Galway. Galway beat Donegal 114 to 15 points in Croke Park. The good friends Pádraig Joyce and Jim McGuinness went up against each other, and it was Joyce's Galway that came out on top. So Galway go into the final with McGuinness's blessing. I think that was one of the things that I liked about the pre-match build-up was Joyce and McGuinness more or less admitted that whoever wins this, they would like to see their friend go on and win the All-Ireland. And that definitely came across in the stadium. I was there yesterday for this game, and it didn't feel like there was any bitterness between the two teams. It seemed like they really got along. They had a lot of respect for each other. The minute the game was over, I remember, because I went to the game with my dad. My dad asked me the minute it was over. He was like, was there a yellow card in that game? Was there a bad foul in that game? I was like, no, I don't remember there being a tackle in the game that made people be like, oh, ref. It was very clean, very good game of Gaelic football, very entertaining. Galway ultimately came out the right side, but just about. And then, of course, the N17 blaring at the end. Oh, the Galway fans delighted. Hill 16 had a lot of Galway fans in it as well. Galway travelled very well for this game, very well supported, and they get over the line.
Yeah, and to be honest, looking at this game, I said before, and I say it again, out of these two sides, I didn't mind who wins. Both fans are brilliant. Obviously, the players are brilliant as well. It was a clean game of football. It was a brilliant game of football. And I was speaking to John McMahon during the week on my own podcast, and we were saying, please, can these two sides play like they have done all year? That'll be much appreciated. And they did. Fair play to both sides, even though Donegal did panic in the second half, I have to say, and that was very, very unlike them. And maybe the nerves got to them in the last few minutes, and that's not taking away from Donegal's year. It's been a superb year for Donegal. Jim McGuinness has done an amazing job to get them up to the level of an All-Ireland semi-final. And the fans and the players and McGuinness himself should be very proud of Donegal's efforts. They have been one of the stories of the championship, and all credit has to go to them. But the day belonged to Galway, and a brilliant performance by them. May I say the goal as well, fluke. It was an absolute fluke, I have to say.
It was. It was. We'll talk about that because that ultimately was the key score. We were sitting right behind it. We were in the Davin stand. And you could see Tierney ran right across Patton's eye line. And you could tell it was one of those free kicks you see in the Premier League where nobody touches it across and it goes straight into net because the goalkeeper is rooted in their position and they're fully expecting somebody to get a header on it and then nobody does. I think Patton fully expected Matthew Tierney to make contact with that. So when he didn't, it was almost more of a surprise and harder to save.
Yeah, exactly. And Matthew Tierney was very smart in his play, coming across them like that to deceive Sean Patton in many ways. But I think Sean Patton was very, very disappointed even coming off at halftime. You could just see the expression on his face. He was just,
Oh yeah,
yeah.
like Patton's a quality goalkeeper. Like
Mm.
if people don't notice about Patton, like he was a League of Ireland football goalkeeper. Like he's a good goalkeeper, and for him to let a goal in like that, like you can tell he'd be raging at halftime. We've a couple of comments in here about this game. Gavin says promotion, Ulster champions, a semi-final only, lost to Cork and Galway this year, a sensational year for Donegal considering last year. Like, I mean, where they were last year to where they are now, Jim McGuinness, like his impact is unquestionable. However, one decision that I did think was strange, and Kieran agrees, was strange call to take McBrearty off as he didn't look happy and was playing well. Can understand if Donegal were leading by a few points, but the game was in the melting pot. And I did feel like that. I was like, look, it's going to go down to the wire. McBrearty's the type of guy that can kick a game winner. Like we've seen it multiple times. McBrearty's the type of guy who can take a winning shot. Why take him off? Because especially in the final minute, like Donegal looked like they had, and don't get me wrong, Galway's defence was sensational. Galway's defence has been unbelievable. Like you're talking, Dylan McHugh has been talked up as a potential footballer of the year candidate. Liam Silk, I thought, was immense. Like you got Jack Glynn, Johnny McGrath, Sean Fitzgerald, all brilliant. And then who they've got to bring in, Kieran Malloy, John Daly, they can keep supplementing their defence. Donegal didn't look like they had a clue how to break them down in the final minute. They didn't look like they were desperate to try and find Oisin Gallen. And then when Gallen, wasn't available to take the pass, eventually Michael Langan just ballooned one wide. And that was as good as a point, because genuinely when that went up, it felt like every Galway fan in the stadium cheered, because it was like, Jesus, Donegal have no idea how to break them down. That's it. If they're not going to break them down, eventually they're just going to kick a rash one into the square, which they did. And that's it. Shows up. And I think McBrearty in that moment would have been the guy to get the ball to.
Yeah, and I think it was a questionable decision as well. And considering there was a period of the game when Shane Walsh got taken off, and there are periods of the game when experienced players from a Kerry point of view and a Dublin point of view get taken off in those sorts of situations, and they might not have the legs up until the last few minutes. But correct me if I'm wrong now, Seamus. Is Paddy McBrearty only 30 years of age?
I'll look it up.
I think he's only 30, because I think I remember in 2012 he was 18 years of age when he broke onto the scene with Colin McFadden, Michael Murphy, all them, but he won the All-Ireland. So 30 years of age. So it's not like he's 32, he's 33. He's still had legs in him. So it was just a questionable move from Jim McGuinness more than anything. And to be honest, the Michael Langan shot you mentioned there, Seamus, to me, it just looked like they panicked. They panicked when the options weren't there. Galway were swarming them, and Galway deserve a lot of credit for them for closing the options down. Michael Langan just took the pot shot, like the hell with this, and they ballooned it into the air wide, and that was it. Simple as. And even Oisin Gallen himself missed an easy enough free late on in the match. And that was very, very unlike him. There was a few other instances as well. I think Paddy Morgan missed one off his right foot as well, which was very, very unlike him. He had a poor enough display, in fairness to him more than anything. So I think Donegal made a wrong decision in bringing off Paddy McBrearty, because that's a less shooter to take off as well. And even in the second half, like we talked about, Kerry shot accuracy up until the end of extra time was poor. Donegal's shot accuracy in the second half alone was 36%. And they've been hitting 70%, 69% throughout the whole season. And just the one half that mattered, an All-Ireland semi-final, they missed the trick. And it's just unfortunate, really. And I just think the players got nervous once it got to that stage. These Donegal players, most of them haven't appeared in an All-Ireland semi-final. So it is completely understandable that they kind of behave irrationally and things like that in these sorts of situations. So it was a bad one to take from a Donegal point of view. But then there was a crucial incident as well, Seamus. And I was saying this at the time, I was mistaken at the time. The Kieran Thompson incident, where Brendan Cawley calls in a free in, where it looked like he didn't pick off the ball off the ground. The referee said he did. And I was looking at the TV thinking, that's not a free. That's not a free. I was neutral, completely neutral. And Galway put the ball over the bar. That was a crucial turning point in the game. But did Peter Canavan said he looked up the rule book and said, Yes, that is a free. Kieran Thompson brushed the ball ever so slightly off the ground, and that is a free. It's a bit of a weird rule, but it is a free. And yeah, at the time, it's just amazing, Seamus, when you actually look at the rule book after the game and you see, oh, it was a free then. So Brendan Cawley made a really good decision towards the end of it now. And I actually, on a side note, Brendan Cawley is one of the best referees in the game at the moment. I genuinely mean that. I think he's an excellent referee. He didn't give too much frees yesterday. Let them go off it. And obviously that call at the end, that was a ballsy call. It was a ballsy call to make that free in for Robert Finnerty to tap over. And I think I've seen him up close as well in the Cork and Limerick game a few seasons ago. He's very, very stern with the players as well. And I genuinely mean this, Seamus, this is my opinion now. Brendan Cawley's the best referee in Ireland and deserves the All Ireland final, in my opinion. So yeah, it was a good win from Galway, but there were some periods of the game where Donegal did lose it.
Yeah, no, I do agree. I think in the first half, genuine assessment watching this game, in the first half, I thought this is a very good game. Both sides are attacking, they're slick, they're moving the ball really, really good. Most attacks are yielding a shot at the end of it. Like most attacks are getting into scoreable positions and shooting. Oisin Gallen hit some gorgeous points in the first half. Michael Langan hit a boomer. I genuinely thought Donegal were slightly better in the first half. Genuinely. I thought, Donegal are just a little bit ahead here. And then the goal goes in. And I think, right, that's a huge boost for Galway. There's no doubt about a goal in a game like this. But Donegal will probably come back. And at halftime, obviously, it was 10 points to 1-7 level. Genuinely thinking that's a great first half of football. In the second half, the game kind of exploded into life at the start of the second half. There were a couple of big plays which didn't yield scores, but the crowd noise went up. And then both teams, Donegal and Galway, both went on a period of holding the ball for genuinely about 2 minutes and doing nothing with it. And the whole atmosphere just came right back down. Everybody calmed right down. And in the second half, Donegal only hit 5 points. Remember the game where in 2011 against Dublin, where everybody says it was one of the worst games we've ever seen. In the first half of that game, Donegal hit 4 points. So they only hit 1 point more in this game than they hit in one of the most defensive performances I have ever seen. So there's no doubt about it. Donegal struggled to break Galway down in the second half. And that's not necessarily down to Donegal. It's down to Galway's outstanding defence. We like to point the finger at, you couldn't do this. They have broken down pretty much every team they've played against so far in the championship. The shots that they were able to take against Galway were not your ideal type of shots. Galway were very good at keeping them wide, keeping them in positions where it was a hard shot to take. And Donegal didn't create a very obvious goal chance. There was no moment in that game where I thought, God, Donegal should have scored a goal there. Galway were very, very rock solid at the back, and they absolutely deserve huge credit. You don't keep a clean sheet against Donegal and a clean sheet against Dublin by chance. Galway's defence is really, really good. And it's going to be fascinating to see that defence go up against Armagh's forwards in the All-Ireland final. And but ultimately Galway did pick up the victory. For Joyce as well, for Pádraig Joyce, I mean, this is, you mentioned about McGeaney. There were some people who wanted Pádraig Joyce to step aside this time last year, which is mad to think about now, given how Galway have turned it around. He deserves huge credit as well. So do his Galway team, because you have to think Galway have just got on with it. They've just got on with it. The amount of injuries that they've had, and by hook or by crook, he's had to make a deep squad because of the amount of players that he's had to turn to, with the injuries to Sean Kelly, with the injuries to Sean Mulcairn, Shane Walsh, Damien Comer, over the year that he's had to turn to other players. So that Galway's panel, I was looking at the programme and I was like, Galway have some big players on the bench, like Johnny Heaney, like Tom O'Callaghan, like John Daly. These lads are going to come in and make a difference. And I think ultimately that was one of the big reasons that they did get over the line.
And to be honest, Joyce deserves a lot of credit how he molded this Galway team over the last few seasons, not just this season. When you looked at last season, they only lost their 2 games by a single point against Armagh and Mayo. They were so close. They got to the All-Ireland final in 2022. They've won 3 Connacht titles in a row in a championship that includes Mayo and Roscommon. That deserves a lot of credit and fairness as well. And as you mentioned there, he's built a panel, and his defence this season has been absolutely superb as well. And may I add, a brilliant stat going into this, the only goal they conceded all championship long Galway was against Armagh. Tiernan Kelly's goal in Markovich Park. So we are in for a very exciting final when you
Who's
think
the
about
only team that Galway haven't beaten?
Exactly as well, yeah.
Mhm.
So it's shaping up to be such an exciting final. I can't wait for this. I really can.
Yeah.
But just on Galway, Power Joyce deserves a lot of credit. And even Damien Comer, even putting up the scores before the semi-finals, he hasn't scored that much. Walsh is their top scorer. Their top scorer is Robert Finnerty. And one of their top scorers from play is Paul Conroy. And Paul Conroy, may I add, he's 35 years of age. I only looked that up during the week because I was doing a bit of research for an app during the week, a bit of a part-time thing that I have at the moment. And I was looking up Paul Conroy as a player to watch things at. I was looking up his page and I was saying, he's 35. That can't be right. He's just so energetic at what he does around the middle of the field. He's absolutely superb at what he does. Yes, the goal was a fluke, but he was brilliant all over the field yesterday. John Maher, to play him at centre forward, that's a masterstroke from Power Joyce, and you have to give him a lot of credit. Killian McDade as well. Sean Kelly being out of the team. They bring a new guy to come in, Cian Darcy. Cian Darcy, another player who's a very good player to bring off the bench usually in games as well. So Galway have a very good panel. And that's the thing as well. And they kept that same level in underage, which most counties haven't done over the last few seasons. Like their under 20 full back line from 2020, the team that beat Dublin, is the exact same full back line as the senior team this season. Johnny McGrath, Sean Fitzgerald, and Jack Lynn. And I think that's just brilliant in terms of just keeping these lads together. And Johnny McGrath has been outstanding this season, in my opinion. I think he's been one of the players of the season. I think Jack Lynn's very consistent. I think Sean Fitzgerald is a colossal figure to have in the full back line. I think Dylan McHugh's had an outstanding year as well. And even at centre back, Liam Silk is doing some job of keeping John Daly out of the team. John Daly was an all-star nominee in 2022, one of the best players that season, and now he can't get into the team. So, Galway built a very, very good panel, and you have to give credit to them for that. And this is a Galway team that still don't have the likes of Peter Cook. They don't have Ian Burke either. So, this is a Galway team. If they get those guys back next season, if they manage to get those guys back, Galway could be a team to fear in the next few seasons, even if Walsh and Comer decide to retire in the next few seasons.
But they definitely have the strength and depth. There's no question about it. Gavin says, I think Galway might sneak it, but hoping for a remake of the 2022 game just without the violence, hopefully. Certainly, if they can avoid just, the scuffles, as you would say, and just focus on the contest, I mean, it will be a sensational final. Yeah, in this particular moment right here, and we're not going to get into the full preview, but generally having watched both teams perform and watch both teams win, is there someone you're leaning to? Because right now in this moment, I can't pick between them. I can't. Genuinely, it's such a 50-50 final. And the other thing I was saying it to Dan today on the GA Hour, when the episode comes out, well worth listening to. It's a good episode. But I was saying this final feels different because it feels like there's so much at stake. You look, for example, at a Dublin Mayo. What's a final that wasn't much at stake? 2020, I think, was one that there wasn't that much at stake. Dublin Mayo 2020 didn't have a do or die feeling about it because Mayo were in transition. You were like, you know what? They'll probably get back to another final. Dublin as well was they've already won 5 in a row. This will make it 6. It'll be a nice one to win, but it's not the end of the world if we don't win it. This game feels like the best opportunity for so many players to win an All-Ireland medal. As you mentioned, Paul Conroy, 35 years of age. This is his best chance to win an All-Ireland. For Kieran McGeeney, he's been manager of Armagh now coming up on 10 years. This is his best chance to win an All-Ireland medal, no question about it. So it feels massive going into the game, and both teams will throw themselves on the ball to try and secure the win. So right now, I genuinely find it hard to call a winner. I will pick a winner on the weekend preview next week when the final's coming up, but shameless plug, but I'm not sure I can separate them now.
No, I can't either because of historic relevance, because of the players of the pitch, because of both sides, the way they performed at the championship. Well, Armagh themselves have only conceded goals to 2 sides in the championship as well. That deserves a lot of credit. And both fences are very, very hard to break down. So it's a hard one to call. It really is. The attacks have been good, the defence have been good, the midfield is going to be interesting, the battle I'll delay my prediction as well. The 2 weeks, I'll be like you, Seamus. I know a lot of people won't like that, but it's so hard to call. Like the midfield, the attack, defense, the managers, they're so evenly matched. The historic relevance as well. Oh my God, it's so evenly matched. And to be honest, Seamus, this is the most excited I've been about an All-Ireland final probably since Mayo and Donegal in 2012. I'll be honest with you. I think that is the last final that I've been really, really excited about because of the way both sides were kind of new to the occasion. And yeah, I probably, it's going to be a very, very interesting one to call, but I can't say a name. I'll save it to next week's preview. If the viewers would like that, indeed.
Yeah, we have a couple of comments in here about it. Aaron says Galway's 2022 final experience will be a big help. No, absolutely no doubt about that. Gavin says it was only a few months ago when Armagh won it. I was only a few months when Armagh won it in 2002 and Galway won it the year prior in 2001. So never seen Sam go to Connacht. It's arguably one of the biggest finals in a while, certainly. And Aaron says, from an Armagh point of view, they're very hard to beat at normal time and when there's no penalties. Certainly, Armagh haven't lost without penalties since 2022. Either way, a massive gap is being bridged, and that's what we love to see. It's either going to be Armagh's first title since 2002 or Galway's first one since 2001. And just on that, their manager that day was John O'Mahony. And I just wanted to give a little tribute here in the episode to John O'Mahony. Massive credit to the Galway players for doing the V, standing in the V formation during his, moment in Croke Park. It was lovely to see. John O'Mahony is one of the greatest managers that Gaelic Games has seen. His legacy is unquestioned. Like what he did with Galway, winning the All-Ireland in 98 and in 2001, but then winning Connacht with Leitrim in 1994. He has been a sensational manager in the GAA, and yeah, may he rest in peace.
Yeah, exactly. I echo what you said there, Seamus. Like a legendary coach for Galway, for Mayo, and especially for Leitrim as well. Obviously, win that kind of title in '94 is a superb achievement, and to win 2 All-Ireland titles with Galway, not just one in '98 and '01, and it wouldn't be probably poetic is the right word if Galway do win the All-Ireland this season. It's an honour John O'Mahony's memory, the last manager to win the All-Ireland. Like obviously the V formation, that was just class with the Galway players, and definitely it shows that he is recognised as one of the a gentleman manager in Galway and in Mayo as well. Like Galway and Mayo are 2 rivals in Connacht. Leitrim might be considered rivals with Galway and Mayo as well. But he is loved in each and every one of those counties. And it just epitomised not just the manager that he was, but the person he was as well. He was an unbelievable great in Gaelic Games. And obviously condolences to O'Mahony family, and rest in peace, John.
Yeah, well said. Anyway, we are going to move then to the final piece of the show. Obviously, I'd like to echo as well, Matt. You said the absolute deepest condolences out to the O'Mahony family and anybody affected by John's passing. We're going to move now next to the Táilteann Cup final. So there was silverware claimed in Croke Park over the weekend, and it was Down who won the 3rd ever edition of the Táilteann Cup. I got this one right, Matthew, would you believe? I said it from the start. I said that Down were going to win the Táilteann Cup. I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. In all seriousness, it did feel like it was Down's year. It doesn't take a genius to figure that Down were probably going to win. But they did make fair hard work of it, especially at the end. Like Mark Barry rattled in one of the best goals I've ever seen in Croke Park right at the end. Absolutely belted in and off the left foot from a huge distance out. And all of a sudden, Laois were back in the game. And I do want to give props to Laois. Like the level of beating they took off Down last year in the semi-final of the Táilteann Cup. I've never seen a beat down that bad in Croke Park. It was horrific to watch. For them to come back and to get that close to Down, they deserve huge credit as well. But for Down, like it was Down's time. They did get the job done. And they are the Táilteann Cup champions.
Yeah, and Seamus spoke as well, Seamus. But I was looking back at my TikTok predictions and I called this bang on as well. I said Down would win the Táilteann Cup, and I think a lot of people would have said that as well. So yeah, we're all getting the right. But the less said about that video in terms of predictions, the better. I'll review that at the end of the season. Should be very, very interesting. But But yeah, I called this and you called this as well. I don't know that Aaron called it, so I think he might have actually as well. So all three of us actually called this Down to win it, even with Kildare in it. So yeah, a very, very good
Aaron was never
win
going to
for
pick
Down,
Kildare, no.
obviously. And it was a tight call. The Mark Barry goal was an incredible goal scored for Park. And just, the temperament for them to take that on towards the end of the game was just an amazing finish. And obviously he's top scorer of the Táilteann Cup as well. Obviously, congratulations to Mark Barry for that. 4 goals and 20 points in this Táilteann Cup campaign. So he deserves a lot of credit for the campaign that he did have. But it was Down's day. They won the Táilteann Cup. And John McMahon actually made a very, very interesting comment during the week, a very interesting prediction for the next few seasons. He said next season, Down could get to the Ulster final. Could it happen? Could it happen? We'll have to see in the next few seasons. It should be very interesting to see. But just props off to Laois. They deserve a lot of credit, obviously, for taking the beat down that they did against Down last season. But in Division 4, they got promoted with an almost perfect record. Won the game at Croke Park against Leitrim. Beat Antrim in the semi-final as well. Obviously, beat Kildare on the run to the Táilteann Cup final. And I said before the final, before the preview of the Táilteann Cup final during the week as well, whatever happens, Laois have had an amazing year and deserve a lot of credit. Justin McNulty's done an amazing job with them, and they will do well in Division 3, I'm sure, next season. In a tough division, it looks like next season.
Yeah, no doubt. I think Gavin agrees with you here. I think there might be a slight delay from my end. Sorry to the viewers and everybody watching. Gavin says here, still a great year for Laois. A bit like Donegal, considering the previous year. I think Laois could be mid-table in Division 3 next year, probably promotion. Dark horses. I mean, certainly there's no doubt that McNulty has a connection with these Laois players. Like, there's no question about it. Like, the way that they have just got so much better compared to where they were last year. There's no doubt about it. Justin McNulty has a special bond with those Laois players. For Down, it's definitely Matthew's gone on me, but I'll wrap it up here, guys. So Down, it was a Táilteann Cup, which they were very much expected to win, but you do still have to give them the credit for going and doing that, picking themselves up off the floor from where they were last year, losing the final to Meath. A lot of people said it was Meath that kicked on. This was a game where Down still had to keep their head screwed on. They had to keep their feet on the ground. A lot of people were saying the minute that Laois got drawn against them in the final that it was done. So for Down to actually get the job done, they do deserve huge credit for achieving that. I'm delighted to say that Matthew is joining me back again. Matthew, welcome back to the show. I was just saying there, for Down, they do deserve credit for getting the job done. No question about it. A lot of people were saying that this game was a runaway, that Down were going to really, stamp on it today with a better team. They kept their feet on the ground. They got the job done, especially when Laois hit them late. But a lot of people would still say that they have levels to go up on if they're going to compete next year.
Yeah, I genuinely believe I would go as far as saying John was right in saying that Down go up and be Ulster finalists next season. But I do think Down will make a serious crack at Division 2 next season. I do think they're one of the favourites to go up next season. I think you have the likes of Laois there, you have Roscommon, you have Cork, you have Monaghan. But they are beatable teams. They aren't like a Donegal, they aren't like an Armagh, Kerry, Dublin. Down could have a serious year next year. I really think so. I think they have a good look to the panel. They had 26 different scores or 27 different scores in the Táilteann Cup this season, which is an incredible stat in its own right. It shows that the players there are contributing. It's not just Pat Havert, it's not just Liam Kerr. There are players stepping up to the challenge as well. And Down were also under 20 champions last season as well. So there are players coming through for Down. Conor Laverty is building a nice team together as well. So Down, I think, will have a serious year next year. They could get promoted from Division 2, and who knows, John might be right. He might be right in saying that they will reach the Ulster final next season. We will have to see, but I'd be very, very positive if I'm a Down fan in the next few seasons. And look where Down were 2 years ago. They were an absolute rabble. They were a mess under James McCartan. But to change their fortunes the way they did under Conor Laverty in the last 2 seasons, they deserve a lot of credit. And now that they've won a trophy, they've got that monkey off their back, they've won the trophy, whether it be a league title or a Táilteann Cup crown, they've done it now. I think that will give the players a lot of confidence to do bigger and better things in the next few seasons.
Certainly, well said. Guys, that brings our episode to an end. Massive thank you to Matthew for coming on to the show. Really, really enjoyed that chat, man. And then big thanks to anybody who put in a comment. Killian McMullen, Denise, Sean O'Malley, Aaron Graham, Kieran McBreen, Rufus73, Gavin O'Reilly, Rene YouTube, and am I missing anybody? Patrick Cahill. On top of that, yeah, guys, really, really appreciate all the comments. Really enjoy when you get involved in discussion. It helps me and me and Matthew to make a better episode as well. So really, really appreciate that. Stay tuned for the weekend preview next weekend, obviously, as well. The All-Ireland hurling final review. Matthew, I'll imagine that you will be slightly invested in that game. You might actually, care who wins that game on Sunday. Dan Casey as well. I just have a feeling that Dan Casey might not be... might not have a voice if Cork win that game, but certainly would be a big one. And do tune in for that, guys. Thank you so much to anybody who got involved in the episode. And until the next one here on Cluiche, take care.